Hello everybody! Today I'm going to talk about the newest Dexcom glucose sensor, and that is why I made the background here behind me green, because Dexcom always uses this brand color green, slightly different green probably than this, but I thought it is fitting. This year Dexcom released the Dexcom One Plus in the UK this May, and they also released it in some other European countries. I received a sample of it at the Diabetes UK conference last April, and they said you have to wait until the 1st of May before you can use it, because that's when we release the app. So I got the app from the Google Play Store, and it works of course also on the Apple phones. The Dexcom One looks exactly the same as the Dexcom G7, except that the Dexcom One Plus actually has the name, the little label Dexcom One Plus on the sensor. I spoke with a Dexcom representative about whether this is exactly the same as the G7 or not. They say it is the same sensor, but it has so like a different app that has specific features that are for the group that they are targeting with this specific sensor. So for whom is the Dexcom One Plus? It's currently apparently designed for people with both type 1 and type 2 diabetes in Europe. The idea from their financial report online, what I got from it, I think I read there, is that it said they also plan to release this in the Middle East and in Africa. Now, the idea behind the Dexcom One is that not all people with diabetes need all the features that the G7 offers. The Dexcom One app is simpler, and it is also, so if you buy a Dexcom One Plus, it's considerably cheaper than the G7. Now, the Dexcom One Plus, unlike the G7, does not work together with insulin pumps and automatic insulin delivery systems. And the Dexcom One Plus can also not talk to an Apple smartwatch like the G7 can. Or like the G7, yeah, the G7 can directly communicate with a watch, which is great. You don't even need to phone them. So the One Plus is simpler. Now, in the United Kingdom, and of course it's unique here to this healthcare system, a family doctor, or as we call it here, a GP, can prescribe a Dexcom One Plus to people with type 1 diabetes. Now, it depends a little bit on the area where you live. I've heard like a few months ago that the Dexcom One Plus, for example, was not available in some areas. The sensor itself is easy to insert, just as is the case for, actually I would say, all glucose sensors these days. Once inserted, it starts up in 30 minutes, just like the G7, and from then it will last for exactly 10 days, but you get this grace period of half an extra day if you just not, so that you have some extra time to find another sensor, or whether that's during the night. So I think that is always quite a good idea. It comes standard with an overlay patch, which is quite nice. I think it sticks really well to your skin. But I think there the story is exactly the same as with the G7. With this Dexcom One that I tried in the past weeks, I swam with it, and even after 10 days it was still sticking really well on my skin. So it's, I think, a really good sensor in that respect. Now, the Dexcom One Plus has the same accuracy as the Dexcom G7. To express accuracy, we can use the so-called marked value. That means mean absolute relative difference, which is sort of like it's a mathematical approach to calculate the difference, and it's about the difference between the values that you get from your sensor and that you would get from a reference test. Now, you can do that with blood tests in the laboratory, so then you have a very precise measure. Of course, you can in principle also do it at home yourself, and you calculate your own MART. I did that. The lower the MART, the better, and the official MART of the G7 is 8.2%. And if you want to know more about MART and how it's calculated, I have a link below the video with a really good article that explains it, what it means. In any case, I also calculated the MART using my own blood tests, and I must say, I don't know, of course, whether my blood glucose meter for the blood test is really that accurate. I mean, it can be inaccurate itself, but anyway, I did it, and using that and also calibrating the sensor, because you can calibrate it. So in my case, I had a MART of 7.4%, which is somewhat lower than the official MART. In any case, I would say this is actually pretty cool, and I would say one of the good things about the Dexcom One Plus is that it is a very accurate sensor. Now let me say something about the app. I tested the Dexcom One Plus on an Android phone, and there are a number of things that I think are pretty good about the app. First, I would say the app has a clean design. I like it. What's good with this app, I think, is that it has notifications on the locked screen, so you don't need to unlock your screen to see what your blood glucose is. I always find that really useful. And that's actually one of the differences, to the best of my knowledge, with the Freestyle Libre, which doesn't do that. And then you need to unlock your phone to first figure out what your blood glucose is. Then also what I thought was nice is that they integrate the app with the Clarity information, so that you can see what the statistics were, about your blood glucose in the last 3 days or more, and then you can select that. Anyway, so the app has really good alarms to choose from, which I think is great. I think it's good that you can calibrate the sensor. I just mentioned that. I also think it's really nice that it has an option which they call snooze, that you can ask your app to keep repeating the alarm every so many minutes if you stay, say, below range or above your target range. And of course you can set what your range is. So there are lots of good things to say about this app, and generally I think it is a good app. But as always with all software, I would say, you can say it could be better. So for example, one thing that I thought was a little bit frustrating, if you look at the main screen, you cannot move backward through the curve. So you can't say, well, let's see, actually, say for example, it's in the evening, let's see what it was yesterday in the evening, or what was this morning. You can't scroll back that way. You cannot use your finger to slide on it like you can do, for example, on the Simplera app of Medtronic. You don't get a daily curve like you get on the Freestyle Libre 2. So I think there, I would say actually it is somewhat limited. You don't get a good sense of previous data. And I think, I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, it's sort of like I think they fall a little bit short, for people who want that information, but sometimes I find it quite useful. Now, it's good that you can control alarms. You can choose different sounds, and as I said, they can repeat every so many times if you stay below or above the range that you've chosen. But what I would like actually is that you can say, don't warn me in the coming 20 minutes because I'm talking to someone or I'm on the phone, and whatever happens, I don't want to be warned at that time. You cannot do that. And that's something that you can do, for example, with the Medtronic Simplera. I think that is a really useful feature that you use, if you have that feature, that you actually regularly use. I mean, not of course that your alarm goes off all the time, and of course you want to be warned if things are really going really poorly, but for people who set the alarms in a sort of like in a way that they still also have enough time to take action, then they don't need to take immediate action if it goes below or above the range that they have set, but also they don't want to be warned maybe when they're just talking to the dentist or, or whatever. So that's, I think, is something that they should actually add. Um, what this app also doesn't do is it doesn't warn you about quick falls or quick rises, or I suppose quick drops or quick rises in blood glucose values. And that's, again, I think it is something that's quite useful. Anyway, so I also found so it has a logbook and you can enter blood glucose information, which is good. Um, and it can ask you immediately whether you want to use that blood glucose value for calibration or just for logging, which is also good. But I always found it, when you enter your number, it doesn't just say, okay, save, and then that's it. But it also asks you then with another screen to confirm it. And I thought that was, if you do this regularly, I found it just a little bit annoying. At least I thought it is, with these things often, if you do it once every day, or maybe once in a while, it's not a big issue. But if you use the logbook a lot, then you think, can it not go a little bit quicker? What this app won't let you do is it would not let you scan your Novo Nordisk smart pen if you have one. Now again, this is, the Novo Nordisk is probably many people who also use the Dexcom One Plus actually use, because this sensor is for people on injections essentially, but they don't have that feature, whereas the Libre sensor actually has that, and that's a nice feature. Although, is it actually? I tried it out on Libre, and I must say I found it actually not that easy to use, and in the end it's probably easier to enter it manually anyway. So I don't know, but anyway, so I could imagine that for some people they say, well, I like that feature, I have a smart pen, why doesn't it work with my Dexcom One Plus sensor? That is a little bit a funny thing not to have on an app, I would say. I don't know why they don't implement that. I called them, and the first time I called them, I got somebody in a faraway call center, and they couldn't help me with that. Now, fair enough. Maybe that was not what that helpline was for. Sometimes you don't know that exactly. But what I did was I wrote them an email, and then somebody came back to me. Somebody called me actually, and they were really helpful and very nice, and I had a long conversation with them about the differences between the One Plus and the G7, and I must say that was great. So they have great staff in behind the scenes. So if you need help, I would say if you have a technical question, you can also email them, and in my case at least, they came back to me very quickly and very helpfully. Now, I've mentioned that the Dexcom One Plus and the G7 look exactly the same, and it might be interesting to know for you how different are they, especially if you say, well, look, I'm going to pay for my own sensor and I just want to buy it, but which one should I buy? Or maybe, anyway, so maybe you have a reason you just want to know what the differences are. Now, I think one of the things is that the Dexcom One Plus, as I said, it cannot directly connect to an Apple Watch, but the G7 one. But then, what if you have a Samsung watch, or or some sort of like an Android watch, smartwatch? The G7 cannot connect with that either, which it's a different story, because here we are reviewing the One Plus, but I thought it was actually quite interesting. Somehow they only seem to support Apple Watches. I don't know exactly understand what's going on there, so if you know why that is, maybe you can leave a comment below the video. The Dexcom One does not seem to have all the same alarm options that the G7 have. The most notably here, I would say, the G7 has something where it says a hypo might occur soon, because basically the blood glucose has been dropping. And I find that I have used the G7 for a while, and I found that a really, really useful feature. I think for anyone with type 1 diabetes, that is a useful feature. But the Dexcom One Plus doesn't have it. So um, then the Dexcom One Plus, as I said, is not designed to be with a smart insulin system, whereas the G7 is. And I think the Dexcom One Plus also has some additional alarm features, like, but I forgot it actually. I have used the G7. I think they have options like your blood glucose is rising quickly or dropping quickly. Now, in a way, of course, the Dexcom One Plus shows that with the arrow function that they have, but it doesn't give you alarms for that. Now, if you're in a European country, you most likely would get the Dexcom One Plus through your insurance. In different countries have different systems. But you can also just buy it yourself whether you have diabetes or not. So if you have a medical condition that makes you need a glucose sensor, you don't need to pay the sales tax in the UK. But if you use these sensors for nutrition or for research, and you just might find it interesting, then of course you need to pay the sales tax. Now, if you go on the UK website, I think they show the prices without sales tax. I'm not 100% sure actually about that. Normally in the United Kingdom, sales tax is included in prices. But so you need to make sure. I noticed that with some of the websites actually, they have sensors with sales tax, and some websites have it without sales tax, which can be confusing. So make sure that you're aware of that. But the price that they listed for on the website is 35 British pounds, which is roughly 45 US dollars or 42 euros. If you buy them in bulk, you can get it cheaper. So that's it. You can here, I think you can buy 9 of these sensors for £229, which makes it then just over £25 per sensor, which is roughly, I think I calculated this, £2.5 per day or something like that. So you end up with something like £1,000 for a year of sensors. I think that's without sales tax. I'm not sure exactly. Double check that yourself or call them. Anyway, so that is considerably less than what you would pay for a G7. So price-wise, there is a difference. The bottom line, I think, is that the Dexcom One is an ultra accurate glucose sensor that sticks really well to your skin for the whole 10 days of use. The app, they're always with these things, there are pros and cons, but overall it works reasonably well, and I think it's nice that they have this integration with Clarity on their home screen. It's also nice that the app, by the way, has the glucose value on the locked screen. So it's all, I would say, it's a pretty good sensor. Now I must also say, if I am someone who has used the G7 for some time as well, and I must also say I really missed some of the G7 features on the Dexcom One Plus app. So I must really say that. But really, I think this is exactly why they have brought this on the market, so that they have different types of customers. People use these sensors for different reasons, and so from their point of view, I guess it makes sense to have different sort of price and feature levels. So that's how it works. I must say, if you are in the United States, you won't find the Dexcom One Plus on their website. I looked for it, and I'm not even sure whether they will ever introduce it there. Maybe for whatever reason, there's no reason for doing that. I don't know exactly how these things work. Right, I hope you found this useful. I'm currently actually testing a Freestyle Libre 2 Plus, which is also just brought on the market here in the UK, and I know it has been on the market in the US as well. I'm going to review that soon. So please, if you like these videos, please like this video and subscribe to this channel, and see you soon. Bye.